as Andrew said this morning, one of PhotoShelter's core values is helping creative people thrive. I think we can all say from what we've seen today, creative people are thriving, and we're so proud to be part of their workflow and helping them do what they do. And I think this day is a really great representation of sort of how we support that mission. And I know we're rounding the end of the day, and our topic is creating a strategy for the next decade. That might be a little bold for us to click off in the next 25 minutes or so, but we're gonna try to do as good a job as we can, and maybe we can get this group back together to do a follow-up session. I'm going to allow the speakers to introduce themselves, and I'd love it if you could talk a little bit about sort of who you are, your company, what you guys do in the marketplace, and maybe we can kick it off. Maybe Joe, you want to start off?
Sure. So my name is Joe Lazauskas. I am the head of marketing at Contently. We are a content marketing technology company that provides a content marketing platform where brands like Amex, Chase, Marriott, and hundreds of others bring all of their marketing team together to create, strategize, and plan and optimize all of their content, and also create really dynamic content through our network of 160,000 freelance creatives all over the world. And my job is to make sure that we keep growing the business, driving demand and really serving our audience, which is all marketers like you out there who are trying to figure out how to create better content day after day.
Great. Amy, you want to go next?
Sure. Thanks for having me, everyone. My name is Amy Winner. I am the co-founder and head of strategy at Wheels Up Collective. We're a boutique marketing agency that works primarily with early stage tech startups that are venture backed. So while marketing's always been on my business card, we play outside of that swim lane quite frequently, as we're just trying to help companies grow and figure out where there's opportunity and how we can build the right technology infrastructure to really help them hit those revenue goals.
Perfect. And Jason, you want to round it out?
Sure. My name is Jason Banks. I'm a vice president with Wasserman. Wasserman is a sports entertainment cultural agency that represents some of the biggest names in sports. We also help advise, consult, and activate on behalf of some of the biggest brands and properties in the world of sports and entertainment. So I'm part of the team that helps advise on a lot of the relationships you see out there where some of the biggest brands are partnering with some of the biggest investors in sports and entertainment.
Excellent. So in order to have a strategy for the coming years, you've got to have a team that's ready to work with you and ready to thrive. I had mentioned this the other day. Business Insider had a post that the word anxiety has hit an all-time high on Google search this year. So, obviously we're all dealing with our own anxieties, but we're dealing with it managing teams. I'm wondering if there's anything you can talk about of sort of how you've kept motivating your team through these difficult times to work through that anxiety and continue to create and thrive. And Jason, why don't we go right back to you?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, for us, I've tried to position this as a bit of a glass half full scenario, where, gone are the days of an individual kind of walking out of their office and looking over the shoulder of another person at a desk and saying, hey, what are you up to? What are you working on? This has kind of forced us all to, manage a different style of work, a greater level of autonomy. And we've tried to remind the people that, we work with on a daily basis that this is really an opportunity to flex a little bit. I mean, you've got a chance to show that you're capable of doing more on your own than perhaps you would have in any other time. We have an approach that we take on my team that preaches accountability, autonomy, action, and appreciation. You've got to be able to succeed in an environment where you don't have someone pushing you every single day, reminding you what to do, micromanaging. You've got to be willing to kind of take steps to move the ball forward, take responsibility for it, and appreciate all of those that are helping you along the way. So we try to make sure people know that this is an opportunity to really demonstrate what you're capable of and not let all the challenges around you bog you down and keep you from looking at that.
Great. Amy, I know this was a a big year for Wheels Up Collective in launching in the middle of a global pandemic. I'm sure lots of anxiety for yourself as a founder and your team. What sort of tactics have you put in place to keep the team grounded and staying positive and creative?
Yeah, just a lot of what Jason just said, we forget that like it's our job to be managers and to manage people. And I think that so many times like we hire great talent and then we're like, okay, go do it. You should know how to do it by now. And you can't. You have to hire the right people and you have to develop them and you have to teach them. You have to give them the right opportunities. And one of the things that we say is nobody sits in the corner, or everybody sits in the corner office on Zoom. Everybody can have a seat at the table, and it's going to take a mosaic of ideas and perspectives to figure out the business challenges that our clients are going through right now. And so it's we're a small organization, so we don't have a lot of the hierarchical infrastructure. But I would challenge any manager out there who really does have a big team to think about getting rid of some of that artificial hierarchy in your team and give people the opportunity to work at their own pace and tackle problems that maybe you didn't think they were prepared to, and use it as a teaching moment. Use it as a moment to let them find fulfillment in their job, because a lot of people are anxious and they're not finding fulfillment in other ways in their life. And this is a win-win, if you do it right and you actually manage your people.
Yeah, Joe, anything you want to add into that topic?
No, I thought those were great perspectives. I think for us, we're an extremely mission-driven organization at Contently, founded by journalists, really pushing forward this vision that there is a better way for brands to do marketing by telling really great stories with the help of this huge community of freelance creatives that we help get paid well to do what they love, and that's been our rallying cry. On the marketing side, we're always really focused on how can we serve our audience better. For our audience of marketers, how can we help them figure out how to adapt to these changing times, how to create more dynamic, powerful content as all marketing is increasingly digital. And on the freelancer side, really helping them navigate a super uncertain time in their lives where work might be drying up, where certain clients might be pulling back, where they're trying to figure out different ways to make their careers work. And right off the bat, that's what we dove into, was creating that content, serving those audiences, as well as getting involved in more CSR efforts to help out the freelance community in particular. So we partnered with the Freelancer Union to put together a freelancer relief effort that's raised almost $500,000 so far. And those sort of activities where we feel like there's a purpose to our work every day that's both growing the business but also serving our mission is just a nice boost in the arm, right? When you feel like you're working on something greater.
Yeah, so nice. And I fully agree with you. I think your values come into play when you're in the most challenging times. I know we've seen that at our company specifically. And the work we do for our customers and clients is one thing, but the work we do as an organization to live and breathe our values, I think, is what keeps us all so excited to wake up and work every day. One of our clients this morning from Kawasaki had a host of amazing quotes, but one of the things that he said was change was coming anyway. And he framed it in a really nice way that that what's happened this year has accelerated a lot of the changes that were on their way. And I know, Jason, you manage a pretty amazing portfolio of brands who are sponsoring massive global sports property events. And I'm wondering if there's anything you might be able to help the audience understand about the changes that your clients might be looking for into 2021 that were sort of accelerated because of this sort of shift to digital in such a big way.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest piece, is just how prominent the role of digital channels were forced to become. So if you look at, for example, the US Open, the tennis tournament in Queens, not the golf tournament, the stadium was empty. And like so many other sports events this year, they had to deal with how do you continue to keep fans engaged. And, we were lucky enough to have a very talented group of people in our London office developed some technology that the USTA took hold of and turned into a fan cam, and it basically turned into a collection of fans who were brought into the stadium digitally. And so just as what you saw with Microsoft Teams and what they were doing with the NBA, and how they were bringing fans into this environment digitally, I don't think anyone was really in a rush to figure that out. And so change was coming. You were going to have to figure out how to scale these events more and more and more every year as you push for more and more revenue. You just can't keep making tickets more and more expensive. So you've got to find new ways to engage new audiences. And I think this year really accelerated the market for that and tested some of the technology and its capability. So I think as we look forward and what some of our clients are doing, I think they're going to continue to push for new ways to make their products relevant to fans within the context of the properties they sponsor. That's a bit of a vague statement, but for what an American Express needs to do versus what a Samsung needs to do versus what a CarMax would need to do are vastly different. But I think at the heart, it's about creating that relevance and finding the technology and the tools that are now available to us as a result of all of these challenges we've seen.
Nice. Amy, sorry, as you sip your coffee, and we could all use a little jolt of caffeine. As a new agency who's looking to innovate and evolve with your clients and customers, are there things that you're leaning into for next year with your customers that perhaps have been accelerated because of the changes we've seen in the marketplace?
I think with the kind of companies that we primarily work with, they're early stage. Like, I'm not really a shiny ball kind of person. I think that there are fundamentals that we need to build out, and we spend time trying to get sales and marketing to align and to make sure that sales and marketing is tied at the hip and that everything that we do rolls up to a revenue goal. Everything that we do, there's a clear line to why we're doing it. And so, I think it's really easy, especially for early stagers, to get wowed by new technology or to jump on a new channel. And, we try and build the right solid infrastructure so that they have, they've got an infrastructure to build on when they have the resources to really start adding on some of those bells and whistles. So not a great answer, but.
No, it's excellent. Well, you actually, you gave me a great segue into a question I'm going to throw over to Joe, and some others can answer this as well. So, I know we deal with over 1,200 customers on our platform and tens of thousands of photographers on the PhotoShelter photographer side of the business. And we've been driven this year to show more value than ever, that our customers who are looking at budgets and thinking about where to spend and where to cut back, we needed to push into driving more value. Joe, I'm wondering, as a technology platform, are you feeling that? Have you felt that? And if so, how have you addressed that?
Yeah, I think in a year like this, budgets are scrutinized more than ever, right? We've probably all felt that to some extent. I'm happy to say that's an area where, I think we've really stepped up as a company. Part of it comes on the services side. Luckily, before this even hit, we'd adapted our services structure a lot to where we're pairing pretty much every customer on Contently with a content strategist. And that's a lot of what they need in that time, is that consultative advice for how do I adapt. And when we think about the things that have accelerated over the course of this year, that's one thing that I've seen really dramatically across the Contently customer base, is that a lot of times in the past, enterprises tend to be pretty set with what their content calendar looks like, but this has forced them to rethink what does travel exploration look like? How are we serving the financial needs of our particular audience in a time of massive economic uncertainty? And we've seen a lot of brands really throw their plan out the window, and we've worked with them to figure out, okay, how can we actually turn this into an opportunity to serve our audiences better and engage more people? But for us, that also comes on the technology side as well, for how we show that value. So over the course of this summer, we developed a new content value dashboard that is a pretty big breakthrough for us, in that we're able to, without any fancy integrations, show our customer the value of the organic content they're creating down to the dollar. based on SEO value. That's been a really big hit and really helped a lot of the content marketers we work with prove the efficacy of their program to their CMO, to their CFO, and get that greater investment next year, which is also a huge opportunity. Like, the marketing budgets have been disrupted. Like, so many marketing leaders are shifting budgets away from sponsored trade shows, from hosted events, and looking for new digital channels to put those in. But I think as vendors, as providers, we need to step up to the plate and really help our customers, our champions inside, our customer organizations, prove out that value internally.
Excellent, excellent. Jason, you're working with some enormous brands, and value is more important to them than ever. How is Wasserman handling locking in those long-term contracts and deals and making sure that you are over delivering on the value equation?
Yeah, it's not easy. It's been a challenge for sure, because every relationship is different. We were lucky to help represent and work with a number of partners who were a part of the opening of Hollywood Park and the new SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. How do you open a stadium in the middle of a pandemic? And all of the all of the assets that were meant to come with, the partnership that extends into a massive district that was meant to host, tens of thousands of people on a daily basis, it just didn't happen. So rewriting the value equation and serving as a resource to validate how to deliver beyond the make good. We have a series of white papers called Insights in Action, and the first one we did was going beyond the make good, because that's all anyone would talk about was like, okay, well, how are we gonna just like shovel all of this value into a digital channel, or how are we gonna recreate all of this into some sort of like social post? And it just wasn't that simple. So I think where we were able to exert our greatest value, where I think quite frankly other agencies had to struggle, we weren't as highly levered against the experience itself, but against the relationship and the contract. How do you retool the value equation? And we did that on a number of fronts, from the world of golf to what we saw in venues, to what I deal with a lot with the Olympic Games. And it was about, we've got a number of proprietary models that we use to help do that, but it's looking at what you were supposed to receive, what that was worth, and how do you recreate opportunity with the, with what you got. Which quite frankly hasn't been quite a bit, but we've made do. So it's been a wonderful opportunity for us to demonstrate our value to our clients because of that.
Excellent, excellent. So let's do a little bit of a speed round here. If each of you can take this question on, and we'll start with you, Amy. We want our audience to leave with some tactical takeaways, and a little bit of prognosticating. What's the takeaway that marketers should be thinking about for 2021?
I think this has been said a couple times today, but it's get as close to your customers as you can. It's, people are uncertain. They like to do business with people who they like. That's like the oldest sales adage in the world, and it's still true. And you've got to figure out how to give your brand a personality in a digital world, and you've got to figure out how to stay close to your customer and be authentic and relevant.
Excellent. Joe, maybe a few takeaways?
Yeah, adding on that, I think it's all about building trust by delivering value to people. Like, content strategy and marketing strategy often gets overcomplicated by analyst groups that show you these diagrams with like 37 different boxes and 47 arrows pointing this way and that way. But a lot of the time it just comes to helping people solve a challenge in their life, both through the marketing content you put out and also the way that your product delivers for them. So if you're in a B2B setting, that's usually helping people learn a new skill at work and get promoted at their job and progress in their career. And there's never been a bigger demand for e-learning. It's why I think educational content is one of the biggest opportunities out there today. Actually building out full-fledged educational programs where your brand has a strong expertise. if you're B2C, like people want to navigate the challenges in their lives. They want to learn how to enjoy the things that they love in the world, even in a time where it might be difficult. And that's a huge opportunity for brands to step in and really play a role in guiding them to somewhere better. And if you do that, you'll build trust with people, you'll build a deeper relationship with them. And even if things are a little bit tight right now from, you know, a buying perspective, that will pay off when things turn around later next year.
Nice. Jason, some key takeaways?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this, I think, when we just had kind of a little regroup beforehand, but the algorithm will always be there, but we can't forget about the one-to-one connection that we've all kind of lost, and the humanity of what we're experiencing, the relevance of being human in an otherwise completely digital world. It'll come back, and it should come back. And I think when it does, brands and people in the creative community have to be ready to capture that and to help make sure that it's not lost. Because I think it's something that, you know, we all crave. The data shows that people crave these connections. They're missing it. It's affecting us. And, you know, I think as we advance forward, the human aspect of what we do and the storylines that follow that will be more and more important. And I think will play a larger role in what you see in the marketplace.
Excellent. So I know we've talked a little bit about this, but you know, great marketers are a couple things. Optimists, I think, being one, and storytellers. And you know, if we were at a real conference and we'd end up having a couple cocktails in the bar after this, we'd all tell the stories that give us pride and usually a couple good laughs. What's the story of this year that you think will hold with you for your career? You know, over the coming years. Joe, maybe if you want to jump in there.
Yeah, so it's funny. I think there was this period right after the pandemic hit where for a lot of type A leaders like me, you know, there's this adrenaline rush. It's like, oh, there's a crisis going on and I get to do something to help overcome it. You know, I got to be there to support my team, and our audience of marketers is trying to figure out all these new challenges. So let me create all this new stuff to help them, and let me help the freelancers and figure out how to get this relief fund. And that really carries you through for like those first 6 weeks where it's like, well, the world is going to hell outside my door here in New York, but like I feel kind of okay because I feel like I have a purpose or something to work on. But then that crashes, right? And I think that crashed for a lot of people as we hit May and June, and you're like, oh, I need to figure out how to sustainably, you know, live with this and adapt our lives to this new reality that we live in, and like keep our team uplifted and still feeling good about the work that they get to do every day, even if we're not, you know, together jamming on a whiteboard or filming in our studio. And I think that's really the story of it, like the ability to kind of mature and step up and try and be there for the people that you really care about within your business community. And so, you know, I think I've done as good of a job as that as I could. I don't think, you know, in March, if you told me this was gonna last as long as it had, I might have had a total panic attack. But I think all of us have figured out how to adapt. You know, look at how you guys have adapted here. Like you couldn't do an in-person event, but now you've got 800 people like chatting with each other on Slack. That's super freaking cool. And I think that sort of adaptability is what a lot of people will be really proud of when they look back on this year.
Yeah, yeah. Jason, any stories that you think will hold with you from this year?
I mean, I kind of liken this to our version of like when I was your age, I walked 5 miles uphill in the snow, you know, to get to school. And it's like if we can look back and make it through this and survive through this, everything else should really pale in comparison. This is I think, historic kind of point in time that we'll all look back on and kind of reflect on the severity of it. While we live through it, it is what it is and you deal with it. But, you know, to me, this is one of those things where if I'm able to succeed and thrive and, you know, help those around me do the same, I think what we're all doing for the people we work for and work on behalf of, every challenge from this point on feels a little less significant, a little less challenging.
Agreed. Amy, how would you answer that one?
Well, I mean, we launched this year, so that's pretty. I mean, I'll remember that anyway. But you know, it's funny. I graduated college, to date myself here, in the middle of like the .com bubble, and was working at an ad agency in New York when it blew up. And you know, we look back on that time and think like that's one of the defining moments in history where things changed. And I think that we're in the middle of one of those right now. We've got this seismic shift going on with the way people, you know, this work life integration, which coming from the startup world, I think is BS, because it's like work life on all the time. And I think, you know, we're realizing that you can't do that. It's not sustainable, and it's not reasonable to expect your people to be on all the time. And you know, I'm constantly inspired by the resilience of our clients that, you know, got some venture money right before this happened and now need to figure out, well, is there a different opportunity here, or do we batten down the hatches and just try and ride it out? And it's going to be those stories of resilience and you know, the humanity of it, and looking back in 10 years and saying like, yeah, that was, you know, I'm sure they'll have some name for it, the COVID bubble, I don't know, but you know, I think we're going to look back on it, and it's going to be a key period in time where things really change.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, we just went through our offsite planning a week or so ago to map out 2021, and dealing with this crisis, but then looking at it as an opportunity and seeing where you can evolve your product and your solution set for the marketplace gives you a lot of agency, I think, to create, to be innovative, and to push yourself. I'm wondering, I know we're running a little low on time, but maybe if each of you can take this one on, or let's see how we do with time, but what you're most excited about professionally for 2021, anything big you have in the plans that you know, you're really pumped to hit the market with. And maybe Joe, if you could start.
Yeah, I mean, you know, from technology side, we've got a lot of things on the ROI side in terms of helping brands prove content value that we're really psyched about. I think content ROI has been one of the hardest things for people to master over, you know, the last decade that I've worked in this industry, and we're getting really close to cracking the code. So a super geeky perspective that gets me psyched up. From a marketing perspective, we're going really all in on educational content through Contently U, which is the content education platform that we're building. And as someone who's, you know, like a writer, a creator at heart, that just gets me really psyched to get to work on that next year, because that's a real fun part of marketing.
Nice, excellent. Jason, I know you've got an Olympic cycle coming up next year. Anything you could tip your hat on as that we might want to look out for next year's Olympics?
I mean, nothing I can really speak to here, but I mean, I do think it'll be a watershed moment for the globe. I mean, it'll be the one opportunity where every part of this world will come together and I think celebrate, whether there are fans in the stands or not. Hopefully, with all the news around the vaccine, that will hopefully kind of spur things along. But I do think when you look at the Olympics and you look at some of the expected return to, you know, more experiences like outdoor concerts and things like that starting to resurface in the summer, I just think people are going to find new ways to make those experiences just that much more wild. And so I think there's a lot of really creative people out there who are going to continue to push the envelope in this, you know, in that same kind of, you know, essence of like change is going to come, whether you like it or not. Like it's going to spur on some thinking. So I think 2021 is going to be a very interesting year to watch and observe what some of these creative brands do and how they go to market, especially around sponsorship and activation. Excellent.
And Amy, anything big in the plans for Wheels Up and your customers?
More the same, man. I think you know, it'll be interesting to see how customers change, because you know, there's this it's drinking from the proverbial, fire hydrant with all the content that's out there, and all the ways that brands are trying to connect desperately. And I think there's a lot of fatigue. There's a lot of fatigue from sitting in your house. There's a lot of fatigue from, being bombarded. There's a lot of fatigue from the election. And, it'll be interesting to see how we're able to streamline and get people's attention in meaningful ways and keep it. And, we have some plans for how we're templatizing that to help startups get 80% of the way there quickly, and then customize the last 20% for them to try and make it a little bit more turnkey and affordable for startups. But it's people are tired of it. They're tired of staring at their phones. They're tired of being locked up at their house. And so how are you gonna get their attention? How are you gonna keep it? So it'll be interesting.
Excellent.